The word saint is derived from the Latin word sanctus, meaning holy, and in general refers to all the faithful who strive after a life of holiness. Throughout the New Testament, saint is used to refer to all who believe in Jesus and who followed his teachings. Sainthood doesn't mean that the individual was perfect. Only Jesus and the Blessed Mother were conceived without the stain of sin and led lives of absolute perfection. The key word in this discussion of saints is heroic virtue, and refers to the saint's ability to overcome sinful tendencies and temptations. They weren't immune to sin, and many of them had to struggle for years to conquer their sinful passions. Saints weren't perfect, and they made mistakes just like everybody else. What sets them apart with the title saint in the Catholic Church is that they did not stay down when they fell. By God's grace, these holy men and women stood up, brushed off the dirt, and kept moving forward. That is why we imitate and strive to be just like them.
Being merciful is one of the easiest beatitudes to describe, but being merciful might be one of the hardest beatitudes to live out in everyday life. Living as a merciful person means forgiving others and not holding on to the past. It doesn't mean being a doormat or letting people mistreat you, but it does mean being willing to make the first move of forgiveness and love. Being a merciful person means you also extend compassion and forgiveness to yourself for your own feelings and mistakes. Maria Goretti only lived 12 short years, but she has become a lasting symbol and example of merciful love. She was born in Italy in 1890 to a very poor family. She was one of the oldest children in her family. When she was 6 years old, her family moved across the country in hopes of finding better working and living conditions. Unfortunately, in this new environment, her father became ill and died when she was only 9. Maria took over the role of raising her younger siblings and keeping house, so her mother could take her father's place working in the fields. To be able to afford a place to live, the Goretti family moved in with another family, a father and his 18-year-old son Alessandro. Maria's life was very difficult, but full of faith and love. She received her first communion in June of 1902, when she was 11 years old. It was one of the happiest moments in her short life. Soon after this, on July 5th, 1902, Alessandro, who had become obsessed with Maria, attacked her and tried to rape her. She defended herself because she did not want Alessandro to commit a sin. He stabbed her 10 times, and when she tried to get away, he stabbed her 4 more times, leaving her to die. When her family found her, she was rushed to the hospital. After an unsuccessful surgery performed without anesthetics, she died 24 hours later. She wasn't even 12 years old yet. Maria's last words to her mother were that she wanted everyone to know she forgave Alessandro. At his trial based on Maria's wishes, her mother begged for a lower sentence for Alessandro. 3 years after her death, Maria appeared to Alessandro in a dream carrying 14 lilies, one for each wound. She let him know that she had forgiven him, and her greatest desire was for him to go to heaven. Alessandro completely changed his life, and when he was released from prison, he was present at her canonization, sitting with her mother. Blessed Carlo Acutis, a model for all youth. Blessed Carlo Acutis was a holy boy who infused the ordinary aspects of life with extraordinary love for God. During his 15 years on earth, he lived as a regular young person, going to school, playing soccer, eating at the pizzeria with his peers, though somehow making all of these activities a lived gospel. In the regularity of his life, Blessed Carlo Acutis dedicated his life moment by moment to the highest goal to which all men are called, eternal bliss with God. Among typical teen interests like video games, computer programming, and making home movies with his cats and dogs, he also loved the Eucharist. In fact, he loved the Eucharist in the most profound way, never missing an opportunity to go to Mass or adoration. This love for the Eucharist and the near presence of Jesus in the Eucharist became the driving source of his sanctity, a home base for him to enter the presence of God and further radiate it to others. The internet to Carlo was a means of evangelization. It was another space in which he was also able to transmit God. Using his computer skills, Carlo designed an online Eucharistic miracle exhibition that is now translated into 17 languages and has been displayed across the world. Blessed Carlo Acutis is a model for all young people today. His life shows young people that sanctity is possible and indeed nearer than they might imagine. Carlos's example offers a roadmap to young people wondering how they can live holy lives in this day and age. What's more, the beatification of this first millennial saint shows us that God is not done making saints. Yet he reminds us all, young and old alike, that the Lord makes saints in every age and generation.